Hello and welcome to the Real Shot Recruiting Podcast. My name is Michael Lloyd. You can find us on Twitter at Real Shot Recruit. With me today is a old friend of mine, an old teammate of mine from my AAU days with the Tri-County Tigers, now known as Tri-County Elite or TC Elite. I got Beau LePage here with me. Beau, how's it going, dude?
I'm doing well, man. Long time no see.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, you look the same though. Just you got some facial hair now, but but you're looking good, man. So go ahead. Let's just jump right in here. Just tell me a little bit about your background, basketball. Why have I reached out to you to have you on the podcast?
Yeah, so I just graduated last May from Aquinas College. I played basketball there for 5 years. I was a redshirt in the 2015-16 season, and then I played the remaining 4 years. I graduated from Fenton High School in 2015. I was actually in Fenton for only 2 years, so I played my junior and senior year varsity years at Fenton. All the years prior, I was at Durand High School. And then as far as like AAU, we played together at TC Elite, was known as Tri-County Tigers. I pretty much started there kind of at the beginning of the whole foundation, I guess. And they just stayed there for my AAU career. Met a lot of great people along the way. And that really helped reinforce my love for the game, was seeing people from outside my school and being able to meet these faces from the area and actually get to join them on the same team.
Right, and of course we got to know each other through that, so very cool.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. That's kind of what we do here. You're the expert on your own recruiting path, and that's kind of what the whole point of Real Shot Recruit is to just get as many recruiting pathways as possible for some kids. Because I mean, Fenton and Brighton, they're similar, and I would say similar in like the demographic, I guess you could say. So
right.
Both from maybe some schools that aren't like your powerhouse typical schools. So just go ahead and run through. I mean, when did recruiting get serious for you? And just the floor is yours. Tell us your recruiting pathway.
So basically, I always knew from a young age that I wanted to take basketball to the next level. Being the oldest in my family of 3 boys, I was kind of the guinea pig for the whole thing, going forward with it. So I guess freshman and sophomore year of high school, I didn't really know how to get recruited. So I just kind of played, and, I played varsity my sophomore year at Durand. We didn't have a very successful year, so there wasn't a lot of recognition or anything there. My junior year, going into Fenton, so I actually had to sit the first 8 or 9 games of the year due to school of choice transfer rules. So I missed out in the first half of that year. The second half of the year, I was in and out of the rotation. I wasn't playing a ton. I still had the dreams and aspirations of going to college, like I said, but, just didn't really know, I guess, how to get there. So springtime, junior year, along with summertime, I went to some exposure camps. I attended one at Ferris State University. I attended one at Grand Valley, and then one at Alma College. So just going there was kind of like an eye-opening experience almost. Just seeing all these other kids who were actually being recruited by these schools, not just attending the camps like me. And I'm like, these kids got it. Like I have a long way to go. If I want to get to this level and be successful, I need to put some work in. So, moving forward, still wasn't really recruited. I mean, I talked to the coaches, but, was getting these general school letters just from admissions, and wasn't really much recruiting. So the summer between my junior and senior year was like everything I had into basketball. I mean, my summer job was basketball camps. I was workout before the camps, after the camps, I was lifting, getting shots up. Just really, I'm like, this is it. Like, senior campaign's coming up. Senior year comes around, started off hot. I mean, I'll never forget this game. The first game of my senior year, I had 25 and 12. We played Holly.
Oh, wow.
At Fenton. So it was kind of like that was our rival school, was Holly. They had a couple of college guys on there. Shout out Jake Daniels. He was a TC Elite guy originally. I think he torched us for like a 34 piece, but awesome game, man. It was super. So after that game, I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm gonna get noticed. So I had a couple of Division III schools reach out. Elma reached out. I talked to the coach at Albion. I talked to Trine a little bit. So continuing forward in my senior year, still nothing. I felt like I was still kind of stuck. I was at the same, there's a couple of D3 schools. Nothing wrong with D3, but I felt like I could do better than that. So we finished the year. We didn't end up going far in districts. We get knocked out the first round of districts. So now I'm sitting at home and I'm like, what do I do? So
Right.
I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to email every college coach in the state of Michigan. And if I get back 10 responses, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally sent out, I don't remember the exact, it was over 100 emails, 100, maybe 20 something emails to schools in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, all levels, D3, NAIA, D2. I sent them my recruiting video. I had a highlight tape made.
Right.
I just kind of gave a brief background of myself with GPA, test scores, just AP classes I had taken, and then basically just expressed my interest, how highly interested I was in playing. I would do whatever it takes to just get in the door, and then once I got there, I could work my way up. But
Right.
so Aquinas, I never forget this. Coach Hammer from Aquinas was the first one to respond. He responded at like 10:30 at night. He's like, I'm at the Big Ten tournament right now. I will get back to you when I get back in town. We'll have you down for an open gym and a tryout.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm like, this is awesome, man. Like, because D3 can't offer athletic scholarships.
Right.
And can't offer athletic scholarships, but NAIA could give athletic money.
Mm-hmm.
So I got back a couple other responses. I don't remember exactly from who. So 2 weeks go by, I go down to Aquinas. No idea what to expect. Never been to Aquinas, never seen any of the facilities. So I go in the gym and I'm talking to the guys, talking to the coach, and I ended up playing out of my mind. Like,
of course.
played out of my mind. I mean, I was hitting shots that I didn't even know I could hit. I'm like, I don't even know how I just did that, but it went in. So,
oh man.
I talked to the coaches afterwards, and it basically, that was kind of like it fit. I met all the guys, I met the coaches, and I ended up driving around the campus by myself, just seeing everything. I drove around Grand Rapids, and I'm like, this is, this fits.
Yeah.
So we kept in contact. I went down there 2 more times, played in a couple more open gyms, and then he offered me scholarship. It was a partial scholarship, and talked it over with the family, and I accepted it. So I got some academic, some money, and then they offered me some basketball money as well. So I ended up committing to Aquinas. Like I said, as soon as I met I knew it was it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think that original email I might have gotten back 9 responses. And I mean, that was my goal was 10. So I'm like, I'll send out emails every day. I sent out like 15, 20 emails for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, a lot of coaches, who even knows what they read them.
Right.
But I'm like, all I need is one, just the one chance, and I'll go prove myself. And it'll be the best thing they ever did was reach out to me.
And did you take any other visits at all, or was it just Aquinas?
I took 2 other visits. Elma in the fall of my senior year, I went up for their homecoming football game. And I loved it up there. I mean, the team was awesome. The coaches were awesome. Shout out Coach Hargraves, and Coach Clark. They took care of me, and Albion was good too. I met the coach and everything. I went there fall of senior year as well.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I felt like it just didn't feel like the place I needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew, I mean, me, I'm I'm outgoing and I'm not afraid to talk to people. And I wasn't going to give up until I got, my dream. And
Right.
it ended up, I landed at Aquinas, and, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right. I mean, I know you have
So,
that Mamba mentality. You're a Kobe fan till you die.
big
So
time,
big
big
ride or
time.
die there. So yeah, it's funny, just the couple names that you've, dropped. It's crazy, like just the nostalgic feeling I'm getting from because our recruiting pathway, not necessarily similar, but the recruiting stomping grounds, if you will, were pretty
Right.
similar. Coach Hargraves at Alma, and I'm sure we definitely sent emails to similar or to the same coaches probably. I mean, there's
Oh
no way
yeah.
we didn't. But
Right.
so you mentioned you went to a couple more open gyms with Aquinas. Did you come back down to earth for those open gyms, or was it out of your mind all three times? How did it go?
No, the last couple of times were more my play style. The first time, like I said, the first time, I don't know who put something in my cereal that morning, but it was unbelievable. And then I just kind of played my game. Like I said, I knew if I would be myself, then I would find the right fit eventually. If I just went and played my game and I blended in, and like I said, those guys, I mean, the first game we played in the open gym, like we're talking on defense and switching down screens, and I'm calling out down screens, and they're telling me to go, and I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, this is, I don't even know these guys.
Yeah, I mean, but you fit like a glove, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I just like the last couple of times, like I said, I didn't play out of my mind, but it just fit. We worked together, and the play styles were there, and I fell in love with it.
And so the first coach was Coach Hammer at Aquinas that ever reached out to you.
He was the first one to respond back to the email I sent.
Did you ever have any like coaching phone calls? Did anybody like want to speak to you over the phone, or even, I mean, even the emails? I mean, how nervous were you the first time you like got anything back from a coach? Maybe excited, but like, were you nervous?
Oh yeah, I was nervous. I think because I didn't know what to expect. Because I was the first, like I said, in my family to really play college sports. I was the first one to ever go get a scholarship, so it was kind of like it was all new to me,
Right.
and I didn't know. Looking back now, it's silly because these college coaches are just, I mean, they're just people.
Right.
Same with the players. I mean, I was a college basketball player, and I'm just a person that can play basketball, and I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship. So, that first phone call, I don't remember who the first phone call was. I think it might have been, I don't remember exactly who, but I'm like, do I call him a minute before? Do I call him like, right? I was seriously, I'm thinking in my head, I was like, he said, call him at noon. So do I call him like at 11:58, or does it look bad because I'm not following directions? Do I call him right at noon? And then one time I called the second phone call, I actually called the coach, and he didn't answer. So he called me back like 2 minutes after, but he didn't answer. And then I'm thinking, oh, I got the wrong number. But no, they're all, I mean,
They definitely are just normal people. And I was surprised, and you could probably speak to this too, but I remember I went to some open gyms at a few different colleges too, and
yeah,
I was so surprised at how much it seemed like no matter where I went, people were so open and like honest about like what you had to do to succeed, and like giving you just random
yeah,
pointers, right? I remember a guy from Oberlin. I went and played at Oberlin in Ohio.
yep,
Dude named Miles. We don't keep in contact anymore, but we follow each other on all the socials and stuff. And
right,
he was telling me all these different things about like how to make it here at Oberlin, and like what you have to do in high school to make it to the next phase, and this is how you're going to stand out with Coach Cavato here at Oberlin. And I was like,
right,
shoot, man, like people just want you to succeed. I mean, there's no one's out here to slit your throat. And but
right.
it was pretty wild. So sticking with Aquinas though, Aquinas is a religious school. I don't know, I don't remember for the life of me what their religious background is, but it being a religious school, did that play any sort of factor? Did you think anything of it when you went and visited?
Yeah. So actually, that was one of the things that we talked about. Because like I said, I didn't know how the whole the religious college aspect played. So that was actually, we talked about that. I am Catholic, so I didn't know if it was, we were required to go to mass or if we were required to, so we talked about that, and they were very, very open. I mean, they said, they're like, we accept players, and even the admissions people were like, we embrace people from all different religions.
Mhm.
And they just said that's basically there as like an option for you.
Right.
If you want it, take full advantage of it, but if not, it's a judgment free zone. So you can study whatever religion. And I did go to church on campus. A couple of times I went for a couple of Ash Wednesdays and a couple of holidays, and
Mhm.
it was awesome. But the thing that I liked was it's not forced upon you.
Yeah. Now, did that play any sort? Because you obviously were messaging every college you could, and I did the same thing. I was
Right.
messaging, emailing every coach I could find. Did
Hmm.
you did that play any sort of part in your decision making? Like, oh, I'm gonna email this college because it matches what I'm looking for religion wise.
Honestly, no, I didn't take that into a factor.
Hmm. Well,
Because
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I've always been the type to just, I know I can carry my religion wherever I go. I can pray and I can do what I need to do. So it didn't really play a factor in my searching.
Well, just I think it sometimes can, because
Right.
when you get into these NAIA schools, Division two,
Right.
Division three, a lot of times there is a religious component to it.
Hmm.
Private Catholic schools, private, whatever types of schools. So, because I remember it didn't play a factor for me either, but I knew it going in, and I just asked the questions. Is this going to be required of me to do this or this?
Right.
I think it's important for student athletes that are looking at places, just ask the questions. And
Yeah.
I was interviewing in a past episode a coach who I've known over the years for quite some time. Actually, Matt Hilkins, you played with him in the that 3-on-3 tournament that we went to in I
Yeah.
a few. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, but
Yeah. I remember that.
he was saying, just come and ask people, ask us. I mean, we have no reason to hide anything from you. It's not going to benefit us to keep secrets from you guys. So
Right.
just ask the questions. So just switching gears a little bit, because I mean, unless, is there anything else you got as far as your recruiting story that you want to mention before I switch gears up a little bit here?
Uh, no, I guess I would just say, to anybody, out there who's getting recruited or who sees this, just, don't give up on it. There's this, I really firmly believe that if you are willing to work hard, and if basketball is, your dream and what you want to do, I really believe there's a school for everybody.
Mhm.
I mean, and I had my struggles, and even at Aquinas, I started on JV for a year, and ended up working my way into a varsity starting spot for 2 years.
Mhm.
So, just never be afraid to send that email, or, never be afraid to reach out to people and just be yourself. I mean, don't sell something that you're not going to be.
Right.
Because I've seen people when I was in college who we're recruiting, who act like this one way, and then they get to school at Aquinas, and then we're like, who's this guy? Like, we didn't, so just be yourself. I mean, embrace yourself, approach everything with a positive outlook, and just keep your head down at work, and eventually it'll come to terms and it'll pay off. It really will.
Now, that you did mention something interesting that I think people need to definitely pay close attention to, is you did play, and so did I. I played JV my first year. I think you only played 1 year of JV, or for 2 years of JV.
I played, yeah. So after my red shirt, well, so it was kind of a unique situation. My redshirt year, obviously, I didn't play, and then my sophomore year, the year after my redshirt year, I didn't play hardly at all. That was the year we went to nationals. I sat behind All American. And then the year after that, we actually, it was the first year of our JV team.
Hmm.
So it took me a while to kind of figure out what I needed to do to get me on the floor. So I played JV. And then the second half of that year, I ended up getting bumped up to varsity to start. Just like I said, just work and keep your head down. And do the right things and it'll pay off. And then the last 2 years I was at Aquinas, I started on and off. I was between like the 6th and 7th man and then a starter.
Mhm.
So
So I think, did you look at schools specifically too, or did you pay any mind to the schools that had JV programs as like okay, because you mentioned before just you wanted to get your foot in the door any way that you could. Was a JV
right.
program something that you thought of like, okay, this might be my step, or was it where you maybe preferred to look at maybe a place that didn't have a JV team so you didn't have to worry about a JV thing? Because there is obviously a stigma around it, right? Like let's just
Right.
call it how it is. When you get the nod that, hey, you're going to play JV, you're like, ah, shoot. But then again, you put your head down, you work, and then obviously,
Right.
you reap the rewards.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I looked at it as much as I should have. I mean, some schools like division threes have, if I'm correct here, I believe they have like a JV or some sort of like club. I think it's a JV team associated with their varsity program.
Mhm.
But I guess I was always in the mindset of, kind of like you said, the stigma of like, oh, I'm not playing JV. Like I'm better than, even at Aquinas, when I got put on JV, I was like, I'm like, JV, what?
Right.
Like, and then the more I conversations I had with my coach, and he's like, look, you're on JV, but if you do these things, you'll work your way, into good things. So I'm like, you know what? Okay. So I embraced it. So, I would just, people who are getting recruited, don't shy away from JV. It could be a great opportunity. One of our rival schools actually, and if my coaches saw this, they'd hate me for saying this. Cornerstone, they do it an awesome job of grooming JV players to play varsity.
Right. I mean, you're running the same system. I mean, I
Right.
think I don't know exactly how Cornerstone runs it from a X's and O's and a scheduling standpoint, but
Right.
I mean, you're in charge of your own destiny there when you get put on JV. You gotta obviously go to practice, but you gotta put the work in outside. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's where you really differentiate yourself from your peers. And obviously, I mean, I failed to mention this in the intro is, you played on a very, very successful Aquinas team. And when you were playing behind an All-American, yeah, that's a spot that, sorry to say, you're probably not going to win, right?
Right.
So what's the worst thing that I mean, you get put on a JV team and now you're playing a high school all-star game every,
Right.
Tuesday, Friday, instead of
Right.
sitting on the bench watching this All-American go off for 20, 30 points a night. Like
Right.
I'll take the high school all-star game if I'm being honest, right? Like
Right.
it's cool, hey, I'm on the varsity or whatever, I'm on the main roster, but
Right.
man, just the experience is definitely worth it, I would say. So
Yeah. I think, can I add one more thing real
oh
quick?
yeah, of course. Are
Yeah.
you
Just,
kidding?
so, I was, like I said, Aquinas, when I went there, just everything felt like it fit, like the guys and everything. And the All American actually is one of my good friends. Um, and I worked out with him all the time when his All American year. He was a 5th year senior. Um, we worked out all the time, and we became pretty close. And I think, you know, he helped me see also that JV isn't such a bad thing. So, like I said, I think just getting recruited, you have to find that place that fits you. And obviously, not every program, is for everybody. I don't know if I could have went to, in Oberlin or somewhere, and that would have been my program. I just knew when I went to Aquinas, I felt it. I'm like, this is the place. So relationships are a huge thing,
Right.
as well.
So let's switch gears a little bit here. So obviously there's all kinds of recruiting networks and stuff out there where they promise, hey, we're going to get you in front of a bunch of college coaches. Did you ever utilize any services, the NCSAs, to get recruited, any of these online programs?
Yeah, so I did use NCSA. I don't think I used it the right way. I think I could have used it more effectively. And I also wish that I would have used social media more. I wasn't very big. I am starting to get more into social media. I'm not very technologically advanced, but I'm getting up there. But I think social media, if used the right way, and like these recruiting websites are a great tool if you're, if you know how to use them. So like I said, I used NCSA, but I don't know what happened. My Wi-Fi said it was fully connected. I don't know what happened there.
Hey man, and it's funny, you just literally got done saying I'm not technically savvy. So of course, right when you say that, the thing goes kaput. Well, it is funny though that you mentioned just that you wish you would have used NCSA more, because obviously everybody has their own, story.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of NCSA, only because they make you pay for it, and I'm not a huge fan of it, considering the way that you and I were able to do it, and I'm sure plenty of other people were able to do it as well.
Right.
Like we did it ourselves, right? Like we just
Yeah.
shooting out emails and making it happen. But
Right.
so you were using, you did recruiting camps. How much would you say like recruiting camps, really helped you in your pathway as well? Did you get some legitimate exposure from those? I know you mentioned Aquinas or Alma reached out, and
Yep.
how much exposure do you think you really got from exposure camps?
If I'm being brutally honest, I am not a huge fan of exposure camps. Looking back now, I think it's only beneficial for people who are already being recruited by that specific college.
Mhm.
So I noticed when I went to these camps that there was a handful of group of kids that already were in contact with the coach, and they were talking to the coach between drills. And I actually worked a couple of recruiting camps in college,
Mhm.
and it was the same way. Like they gave me a list of kids, and it was kind of like, these, keep an eye on these kids or these kids. So I think it's more beneficial to get like a one-on-one workout,
Mhm.
or maybe ask for like, just a team open gym where you can get exposure with just the team, and you can really feel how, things will go that way.
Mhm. Now, a question that I just thought of as we were doing this,
Yeah.
you obviously, I mean, being there 5 years, who you probably dealt with a bunch of different recruits, right? I mean, I don't know,
Hmm.
I don't like at least 20, tons of them, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like when you looked at a recruit or you met one, you talked with one, you ate, lunch with them, you ate dinner with them, what separated like, okay, this kid is legit, like this kid is a real potential asset, or like, okay, this
Hmm.
kid might not be so serious?
um I would say attitude and approach,
Mm,
because I have seen kids come on campus where I've gone on. So my big thing was I used to go on a lot of tours with the recruits. I would walk around with the admissions crew and with the kid and his family, and just kind of get a feel. Obviously, that I'm very talkative. I'm sure you
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 don't
know.
say.
So I would just say attitude and approach. Are you acting like you're too cool to be there? Are you asking questions that's, you know, do you want to know about our program? Do you want to know about the school? Or are you just kind of walking along like Joe Schmo? Are you getting on your phone? Are you texting? That was a huge one for me. That was one of the main things. If I saw a kid doing that, I'm like, hey coach, I don't think this is our guy. He's you know,
More
he
interested in
doesn't.
his phone than the campus.
Right. And obviously I know there's people are shy and people are very talkative, but there's a difference that I could tell from a lot of people where it's like either you're shy and I can kind of break the ice and drop some humor. I'm a pretty funny guy.
Eh,
Versus like somebody who's like, man, this is horrible. Like I don't want to be here.
right.
So that's a big attitude, and approach is huge. How bad do you actually want to be at this place?
Mhm. And how easy was it to tell? I mean, was it blatant?
Yeah, yeah. I would say almost all the times I could tell, for even off the first 15 minutes of conversation, I could tell. I'm like, yeah, this is.
Mhm. Do you ever
Yeah.
have like a conversation with a kid where you're like, you just were on like brutally honest, like, hey, do you like even want to be here?
Not quite that brutally honest, but there was a couple times where because I get irritated. I don't like to waste my time.
Mhm.
So if I feel like you're wasting my time on this tour and it's going to turn into nothing, I'm irritated because I got stuff to do. I got classes to go to and workouts, and
Right.
so I've asked kids, how bad do you really want to play college basketball?
Mhm.
Are
Well,
you doing this?
when you play at that, NAIA Division III level, I mean, there's not a lot of lights and glamour in it.
Right.
It's hard nosed. I mean, and it's real deal basketball. I mean, no matter where you go on to play at the next level,
Oh yeah.
you're waking up at 5 a.m. on a Friday to go do your whatever your team's conditioning stuff is.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of grunt work to say the least. But so no, one of my last questions here, and I know you kind of mentioned it too. The first or any advice that you would give to younger players that are going through it right now?
First, I would say look yourself in the mirror and say, how bad do I really want to play?
Mhm.
Like I said, don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Don't waste people's time. If you want to play, give it your all. You know, and if you don't want to play, then just enjoy your senior season and then just kind of leave it at that. But also just be authentic. Like I said, just be yourself. Don't sell something that the worst thing the coach can do is think he's getting somebody and a whole nother person shows up on campus.
Right.
Be authentic, be interested, and be honest. Tell the coach. If he say, "Hey, how was your visit?" Coach, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is the place for me. I appreciate you having me out. Enjoyed everything about it, but I don't think I'm gonna take the next step to be here. A coach would much rather hear that than you string them along, and then at the last second say, you know, yeah, this isn't for me.
Right.
Be honest, be authentic, and you know, work hard. Respond
Hmm.
to the coaches. If a coach reaches out to you, like I said, just that's also another frustrating thing. If a coach reaches out to you, tell him up front. Don't ignore his text. Don't burn bridges because you may commit to this school, the coach gets fired, and then the new coach coming in wipes out the whole recruiting class. So now you burnt these 3 bridges over here just because you were so committed to this school. Now what happens?
Right.
So just
And that's
that's
not to say, string them. I mean, I think one of the most that's one of the most mature things that a junior, senior in high school
one hundred
can
percent.
probably do is just be straight up and say, Coach, thanks, had a great time, but these things I'm not so sure on. You know, I'll think about it, but probably, I'm not looking to go here. This isn't. I mean, if a
Hundred
kid said
percent.
that, I mean, obviously, the dream is to get there, and maybe, options are obviously very limited. If a kid came out and said
Right.
that, that's just sets him apart, him or her apart in my book. I mean,
100%.
that's pretty mature. So, last question I got here for you. If you could tell your younger self, if you could go back, hindsight being 2020, what would you have? Would you have done anything differently?
Um, I would have worked harder from the beginning.
The
From
beginning being like
like
freshman year or
freshman
earlier?
year of high school. Freshman year of high school. Yeah. I don't think I truly understood what hard work was until going into my senior year. Like I said, I wasn't getting recruited, and that's kind of what it took me to kick my butt in gear and say it's either now or never.
Mhm.
So work extremely, extremely, extremely hard and take nothing for granted.
Fair enough. So I know I said last question, but I mean, you're such a talkative guy. It's hard not to keep wanting to ask you questions. So we obviously played AAU together,
Yeah.
and then we didn't play against each other in high school. We scrimmaged one time, but would you say that your recruiting, like what benefited you more? Was it similar? Would you say AAU helped you more, or did high school basketball help you more?
Oh, that's a tough one. Um, I would say high school, which is probably a non-popular answer, but I would say high school.
Mhm. I mean, today, for sure, I would say that's probably you're in the minority there.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I think for myself personally, I think high school would be my answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but when we scrimmaged, I mean, I was not the high school, focal point of our team. AAU, like that's
Oh
where
yeah,
that was my bread and butter was AAU basketball.
right.
High school, no way, man.
I
I'd
think you guys still beat up on us though in the scrimmage, if I remember correctly.
Well, I mean, hey, Fenton's a little bit smaller than Brighton. I mean, we were pretty decent, that Brighton team, a lot better than our record showed at the end.
Yeah.
But all right, Bo. Hey, man, thank you for being on the show. This was awesome. Hopefully, maybe I'll have you back on in the future. But man, that was a great episode. I appreciate you coming out, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. It's great to catch up, and hopefully some young high school star can take something from my story and
Oh, heck
help in
yeah.
their journey.
Yeah, we'll have to play in we'll have to find a 3-on-3 or something if you're still in shape. You look like you're probably still in shape.
I got the quarantine weight. Actually, man, I just bought a pair of basketball shoes today, so my journey to get back in shape begins tomorrow.
All right, hey, you heard it here first. Bo's journey starts now. All right,
It's
take care, Bo.
all right, Mike. Thanks again. Take care.